sometime before I started team teaching, I sort of got tired of being, you know, a one-man show.
Bongo is a collaboration which leads to the process which allows for a positive learning environment. It is a team which starts with two, but quickly escalates to students, fellow colleagues, administrators, community, parents, and former students.
Because it's a team, it empowers each member, but not at the expense of any other members of the team. Each of the structures grow naturally out of the developing and adaptive process.
Being divided up. Okay.
It was evenly though.
Yeah. Well,
But
what do you
it
think
couldn't
it
have
was?
been like nothing about the government because all of the pieces was even, and most of the time it's like the government has a big chunk in everything.
All right,
Like,
does anybody know what government has their economy that is evenly divided?
Or supposedly.
Or supposedly.
Russia, supposedly the communists. What they were probably trying to say was that in that government, everything was divided equally up. You know what I mean?
Or, but then again, if you looked at the rest of the table that it was on, it couldn't have been. And maybe that's what the artist was trying to say also. Is this is supposedly what it's supposed to be. This is what they always show you. It's evenly divided up, yet if you look at what's going on the rest of the table, that's really not what's happening.
Over the years, I'd say that as a school community, we have tried to incorporate some of the best aspects of the Bongo program into the mainstream of the middle college. It has become a priority for me to allow teachers to have team teaching experiences, and that was based upon seeing the power that Paul and Terry had in coming together and working with students. I think kids find it much more interesting to watch two teachers in a classroom interact with each other around an issue than it is for one teacher.
I think that we need to model people working together teaching the same way that we model people working together in factories and in large corporations and everywhere else. I think the teaching and the modeling of adults working together, having conflicts and resolving conflicts, making plans and changing plans and scrapping plans, I think that's what we're teaching as well as the content. And you really see that in a Bongo type setting.
A lot of times Paul and Terry disagreed on stuff, and they made you think about it. And then since you heard two different opinions, you would have an opinion of your own. And the class gets involved with their disagreements. You know, it gives a chance for the student to stick up for what they believe in, and also have, you know, the teacher's side, so that's a sense of security.
I was afraid over the summer when I said I was going to do this with Rick that somehow I was going to run right over Rick. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to learn how to shut up, and I wanted to learn how to learn from him as opposed to thinking I knew how to do it. And I talked to my family about this over the summer because I was worried about it, and they said, tell him right up front the first time you meet, this is what you want to learn from him, and to tell you to shut up when he thinks you should. And that's what the way we started. And I think we've both done that.
The relationship between my team teaching partner and I has developed very well. Our styles are almost completely different. And I told Charlotte Welland, my fellow teacher in this Bongo class, that I'm a better reactor in the classroom than I am a planner for the classroom. On the other hand, she is a very detailed planner. Initially, the plans that we made were typed by Charlotte on a computer, and she even typed in, and then I will say, quote, please, and you know, literally word by word. I think we've both evolved a little bit. Obviously, she's not doing that anymore. There's not the time to do that since we're into the flow of the Bongo class every day, and obviously I am having to do more detailed planning because it's not team teaching if we go into the classroom and all of a sudden I do the thing that I have decided to do. So it's been really good for both of us.
The true mark of how team teaching has changed us and helped us to develop as teachers, I think, is the fact that each of us has become a stronger individual and a stronger teacher as a result.
Yeah, I can't tell you how much better, how much more skilled I've become as a teacher by having taught with Terry, being in the room, seeing how she works with students, which then gives me an incredible reflection of my weaknesses when I see the same students who I'm not having success with responding very well to her and saying, well, why is that going on? Oh, she does that all the time and the student responds to that. Maybe I can do some of that.
I think that that's the key. When you start to say, well, maybe I can do some of that. When you look at the other adult on the other side of the room and you don't look at that person as someone who's judging you or someone who's there to catch you at something that you're doing wrong or a mistake that you've made, but that person becomes, like you said, your reflection and your teacher.
Finding a partner is a lot like finding a spouse and comes with an equal amount of baggage. You can alleviate some of the fears by asking yourself, what qualities do you want in a partner?
I personally didn't feel like I was giving anything up. I felt that I would be gaining a wealth of experience just by being in a classroom with someone who had as much experience as Yvonne has had, because I taught with Yvonne the last cycle of my first year of teaching. So I mean, I had some experience in the classroom. It wasn't like it was brand new to me, but at the same time it was still new overall. So I was excited about the idea. I don't feel like I gave up anything, but on quite the contrary, gained, an enormous amount.
What Mario doesn't know, because I never told him this, was that, but I did talk to Paul a lot, was that I had a lot of anxiety after the first cycle. And I kept saying, well, I don't feel like we're a team yet. I'm not even sure he's going to want to teach with me again. I don't know what he got out of it. I don't know. I don't know what happened. And I didn't take it to my partner. I took it to people who I knew had been partners before. And what I heard was, well, maybe some of this can be expected, and what you have to do is to make sure the class is both of your class. The class belongs to the both of you, not just to you. And I said, okay, because I think I need to work with this person. And I'd like it not to be a one-shot deal. So I sort of felt like I embarked on a kind of a courtship. And, I courted my partner for a while.
Well, I was just going to say, and vice versa, because, there's a certain amount of, Yvonne was very easy. There are other situations in team teaching that I've been in that haven't been quite so easy in terms of compromising, and so there needs to be that the courtship. I mean, it has to be mutual. It never works if it's one way.
What we found is that at a certain point, probably about 2 or 3 years into our doing Bongo, certain students didn't have enough room to grow in the program. They had gone as far as they could, just being participatory students, even students who had written original things, new ideas, added lots of things to the group. And what we started to create were student interns. In other words, they were either part-time or full-time in the class as assistant teachers. And sometimes they're not even assistant teachers, they're the teacher in the class. And this empowers students a next level above just being a regular participant.
What I want is for someone to read from this book out loud, and like maybe 3 or 4 people have to keep trying to interrupt this person, and all you have to do is just keep.
I was very quiet. I was a little mouse. I didn't speak. I sat in this corner. I ignored everybody, and I said, I can't do it. I can't do it, because I've always said that. I can't do that. I can't, I'm not smart enough, or I just can't do something. And They said you can do it.
At that prom, you said to me, okay, would you like to be an intern this fall? I said, yeah, I have to do another internship. And you said, fine, you can teach oral history. I said, okay, I have no clue what that is, but fine. We'll see. And anyway, over the course of that summer, basically you gave me a lot. Actually, I was given a lot of information and told that I'm going to coordinate and organize this whole thing. And somehow or another, I guess I did, but I really had, in the beginning, I had no clue, and I was just trying it and trying to see what would happen, organizing, getting in touch with senior centers, and trying to read up other oral histories, and try to figure out what the whole thing would be about. So right at that point, even before it started, I felt a real independence, and I knew that I could always have guidance and help, but I knew I was being asked to do something, something different I'd never done, and it felt pretty good.
Given the shortage of teachers in our country today, it is noteworthy that Ron Zirin, who facilitated our oral history book when he was in Bongo, majored in political science in college and is presently a teacher in a local junior high school. We believe it is not coincidental that Ron is not the only Bongo intern to choose the field of education. Ron had dropped out of 2 high schools before coming to the Bongo program with its inclusive environment. With the proper encouragement, he truly became part of the expanding team.
I was given several, I guess, maybe 10 students, 8 to 10 students, and I was put in a room with them, and I had to organize everything that I was going to try to present to them and teach them about oral history, what I had learned that summer before, and try to get them to understand what we were going to do and tell them that they in turn would have to be in charge of other students, and they would have to follow up, and they would have to really help organize the whole project also, that we'd be a real core group. And as far as being a leader, it was a good feeling, and it was a great experience. I had never taught before, and I really didn't know it at the time either that I was doing that, but that's how it turned out, and it was a lot of fun.
Tradition can be an excuse for not changing. But if we're all looking at student outcomes, I would say that, in fact, students learn better, learn more. And what I've heard from the Bongo students in our school is, this is different. This is something I'll remember for the rest of my life.
Team teaching is better planning. Team teaching is more spontaneous teaching. It's more creative teaching. It's more real-life situations.
In order for teachers to restructure their classroom so that what goes on is collaborative, that is, kids learning from each other, it is necessary for teachers to actually do that for themselves. And that only takes place, again, in a team teaching situation.